6 months. We have waited 6 months for balance changes to Path of Exile. And after 6 long months of waiting, this is what we get, this balance manifesto. Now, hopefully, and I'm channeling like medical grade copium here, hopefully the patch notes, the announcement gives us some kind of buff, some pretty sweeping massive buffs to something. Because as of right now, looking at the balance manifesto, it really genuinely just feels like we're getting 3.17 version 3, but worse. Like, it's just gonna be the same exact meta that it was previously. It's just all of the meta things that people played previously are worse. And that's honestly kind of unfortunate. They basically took every single thing that was super popular and nerfed it by some percentage. And there was a couple things that are some of the more powerful stuff that didn't get nerfed in this balance manifesto. So I'm heavily confused, but either way, we're going to go over it. Now, remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. And without further ado, let's get into the nerfing. So since this is just a balance manifesto, this isn't patch notes, this isn't like final, hey, you know, this is what we're going to do, this is exactly what's going to happen. This is their thoughts behind the changes that they're going to make, meaning this is not the finalized version of what we're getting, it's not everything that we're getting, it's just the things that they have been working on and thinking about. So I'm going to try to keep it short, I'm going to try to keep it concise, I'm just going to go over the most important stuff and just kind of give you the TLDR of everything. I don't want this to be like an hour-long video if at all possible, but we'll see how we do. So defensive balance. This is something that I was expecting from a very long time ago. I was expecting them to nerf the defenses in some manner, some way. I didn't expect that they were going to nerf it the way that they did it. Essentially what they're doing here is they're taking spell suppression and making it easier to get on the tree and harder to get on gear. The reason that they're doing this is they're making it so that it's not so easy for people on the left side of the tree to be able to get 100% spell suppression. This was something that was made worse by recombinators, which are being removed from the game, so this isn't a terrible change. Right side of the tree is going to have a little bit easier time getting spell suppression as long as you invest in it on the tree. Left side of the tree going to be pretty significantly harder to be able to get it. Arctic Armor is being changed. This doesn't really matter. Standing Still is a death sentence, so Arctic Armor is not going to really change anything. Flesh and Stone is being changed so that you're going to be taking less damage when you are in Sand Stance from enemies that are not nearby you. We don't really use Sand Stance for Flesh and Stone very much, so Defiance Banner is getting a numerical nerf. It is losing half of its increased armor and evasion rating and gaining some reduced critical strike chance. Defiance Banner was pretty good overall with the whole armor evasion stacking meta, so what was once one of the worst banners and then was the best banner is probably just about like mid-tier. It'll probably still be used though. The Wind Dancer Keystone is being changed a little bit. They're making it so that instead of more evasion rating, it's going to gain more chance to evade attacks. This is a nice change, but I still don't think that you would purposefully choose something that's just going to make you take 20% more attack damage. It doesn't make sense because even with 95% evasion, when you have a ton of enemies attacking you, you're still going to get hit more than once every 4 seconds. So I don't really agree that Wind Dancer is going to be good. It might be a little bit better. Some people might take it, but I don't think it's going to be substantially better. Arrow Dancing is being changed to where it is a less extreme penalty overall, but also a less extreme bonus to projectile evasion. It is going to be doubling the chance to evade projectile attacks and 25% less chance to evade melee attacks. Problem here is that if you're already scaling evasion, you're already going to have both of those anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This is maybe going to make it used for some people who off-screen everything and only have a little bit of evasion. I still don't think this fixes it. They're making it so that ward is a little bit better to invest into if you're wanting restoration of ward. However, the only way that ward really works right now is with Olroth's Resolve basically completely ignoring the limit on how often ward gets replenished. I don't think this is going to do enough. Maybe if you invest extremely heavy in restoration of ward, you could get it up maybe every 2 seconds. I still don't know how good that's going to be. Maybe with an evasion build it could be decent, but I genuinely don't think it's going to be good still, but maybe it'll be a little bit better. They are nerfing the Grasping Mail modifier. This is a modifier that's pretty powerful because of recombinators. They're nerfing it by half. I don't know how necessary that's going to be now that recombinators aren't in the game anymore. They're also changing the Gravicius modifier. It lets you gain life as energy shield into a take physical damage as fire and lightning damage, which is honestly pretty good. Like, taking physical damage as elemental damage is very powerful. I think it's still going to be a really good modifier. So this isn't too big of a nerf. It's just not really going to let you scale hybrid life energy shield as easily anymore and not have those big crazy chess pieces with all kinds of crazy modifiers on it. A little bit unfortunate, but not a terrible thing. They're buffing blind, Omega Lol. Now, this Mind Over Matter change is honestly very strange. I don't know why this is in here. The vibe I get from this is like, we know that the change that we're making to Mind Over Matter isn't good, but we needed to put something in these notes to justify telling you that, yeah, we're going to fix mana sometime in the future. So here you go. That's really what this feels like. Because changing Mind Over Matter to 40% and removing it from Cloak of Defiance in the modifier does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. It doesn't fix anything. But they're going to fix it in the future at some point. Soon TM. They're making Fortify easier to gain for melee builds, but melee builds have other problems besides Fortify. This is nice. It is a step in the right direction. Doesn't fix anything in my opinion. Melee's probably still going to be bad. Minion balance. This is the bulk of what's changing. So minion balance, this is not something that I was expecting. I didn't think that minions were this outlandish, but they are going ham on changing minions. They're doing the same thing that they've done to pretty much the rest of the game. This is one of the last things that was still in the game where it was just inherent power built into the skills, built into the gems, built into the whatever. Moving on to gear, just like they have everything else. So the TLDR here, I'm not going to go super in depth on this, is that they're taking power away from the base minions. They're creating some specific minion items. There's going to be bone rings. There's going to be like bone shields and stuff like that that can roll minion modifiers, and they're moving a lot of it over into those minion modifiers. So what they say is that if you heavily invest, it is possible for minions to be better than what they were previously, but for some reason I doubt that. Minions definitely getting nerfed at the lower end, but minions always seem to find a way. They've been nerfed every single patch forever at this point. They still end up pretty decent. I'm sure all the minion players will figure out something. Some keynotes here. Spectre is losing a level, which is kind of unfortunate. We're getting those new items. Helmets are no longer going to have plus level of socketed minion gems. They're getting plus level of all minion gems now. And you can also get plus level socketed gems as a corrupted implicit. They're changing around some like modifiers. There are a few minion skills that are getting changed. Absolution is getting less single target damage, more AoE. Animate Weapon is getting a mana nerf. Summon Phantasm's getting a pretty big buff. Golems are all losing life, gaining a bunch of damage. So this is a potential nerf for Maw, but Maw will probably still be okay. Potentially there's going to be some Golem builds that might work now. There's some pretty big buffs to some of these Golems in here. Holy Relic is getting an effectiveness of added damage buff, but it was its base damage that was powerful before, so we'll see how this goes. This could enable a build. Summon Raging Spirits is getting a huge buff. Summon Raging Spirits might actually be good again. We'll have to see about this. I'm not 100% certain. Summon Raging Spirits looks pretty solid. Summon Reaper is getting a nerf to itself, but they are changing it so that Bleed is much more powerful for minions in general. Summon Skeletons, pretty heavy nerf. Skeleton Mage is getting pretty massively nerfed, 25% less damage, less added damage. Yeah, pretty rough. Verana's March was apparently bugged. This ability just wasn't hitting. It had like 70% lower accuracy rating. Maybe it'll be good now. I don't know, probably not. They are making it so that minions no longer have weird hidden penalties to stuff, meaning they're going to be able to bleed and poison and do all kinds of extra like ignite damage. And they're also nerfing the way that Endurance, Frenzy, and Power Charges affect them. So I don't know about this one. This one's a little worrisome. Power Charges and Frenzy Charges were a massive scaling for minions, and now that's gone. They're also going to be making it so that you can scale minion crit a little bit better. They're changing Spirit Offering into being a crit offering, but that means that you can't use Bone Offering, which means that this probably won't be used. I don't know. Minions being able to crit seems pretty good, but yeah, this is one of those like have to crunch the numbers and see. Potentially could be good. Maybe with huge, insane, crazy investment, minions will still be good. But a lot of people played minions just because it was an easy build to play early on and you didn't really have to worry about anything. Those people might be a little bit upset. Necromancer is catching quite a few nerfs. Been a while, and they're not nerfing the thing that everybody thought that they would nerf. They're nerfing the other things, which is super weird to me. They're making it so that Unnatural Strength no longer grants +2 to minion gems. It now gives Unholy Might. Good. Poison Necromancer minions, apparently. They are also changing Detonate Dead. They told us that they were doing this. This is absolutely no surprise. They're like, yeah, we're going to be doing this. All Detonate Dead minions are pretty much equal now. And they are also nerfing the corpse life that you get from Necromancer. They're nerfing the corpse life that you get from the tree. They're nerfing the corpse life that you get from a lot of like extra quality gems. And they are buffing a lot of the corpse mechanic gems to where if you level up the ability now, it scales to more percentage of life explosion. So maybe corpse mechanics will still be okay, but this does look like a pretty decent size nerf. They're randomly nerfing Fire Trap. I think Fire Trap will probably still be good. It was good previously. Fire Trap Sabo probably still be good. Fire Trap as an ability for RF probably still be good. Just took a little bit off the top. This is essentially 2 gem levels worth of damage loss, so just factor it in that way. I think it'll be okay here. They're also changing cooldown based traps. Some preliminary math that I've heard is that this is roughly a 30% damage loss for Seismic Trap on a long fight, and basically a 0 damage loss if you are like one-shotting stuff with Seismic Trap. So if you're already playing Seismic Trap and your build one-shot stuff, no real changes. One of the most powerful abilities in the game potentially might have made it through. Who knows? We'll have to see how the numbers crunch here, but it's looking like Seismic Trap is probably okay. Maybe this nerfs it a little bit in the like poison aspect, and maybe this nerfs it a little bit in the like gauntlet power. But super high investment Seismic Trap, probably still fine. Explosive Arrow is getting its damage split into hit damage and ailment damage. This is a nerf to Ignite Explosive Arrow, a pretty sizable nerf. They are killing the Cast on Death build. It'll probably still work with big investment, but this is a pretty heavy nerf. They're also nerfing Cast on Damage Taken a little bit. Divine Blessing support is getting absolutely neutered. You can no longer use it with Life Tap, meaning that the one and only real use for Divine Blessing is being completely removed from the game. I don't expect pretty much anybody to be using this anymore. Maybe in some very, very niche circumstances, like an Inquisitor using Fanaticism could maybe make use of Divine Blessing. So I guess that's cool, but that's about it. Sniper's Mark is losing its life in Mana Flash generation. Okay. Hydrosphere is getting nerfed into the ground again. This is becoming the new Molten Strike. Better nerf Hydrosphere every single patch. So now only people who cast it can hit it. And then the main part, the part that I'm the most upset about here, the part that really, honestly, just kind of irks me, kind of triggers me a little bit. Due to Path of Exile's constant evolution, there are sometimes skill and support gems that are left feeling underwhelming to use. Yes, there's a lot of those. So they carried out a routine balance pass, and this is what we get. It's honestly a joke, if I'm being real with you. There's like maybe 2 or 3 somewhat okay things in here. So we're gonna go over these real quick. This is gonna be one of the only things that I go into detail of because I'm pretty upset about this. Artillery Ballista might be an okay change. Maybe it's worth playing. I don't know that it'll be better than normal ballistas though. Blazing Salvo didn't have problems with damage. A little bit of a damage buff isn't going to do enough here. Cleave 2 radius increase the level. What are you doing? Who made this? Who sat down and thought, I'm gonna increase the radius of cleave today. That'll be a really good change. That'll help. That'll help. So I'm gonna increase the radius of cleave. Cracking Lance now has a base beam width of 12. Cracking Lance didn't really have problems with the beam width, I don't think. Maybe this will be okay. Maybe this will be a little bit better, but Cracking Lance has a lot of other problems. All of the totems are getting a life buff. This is kind of a buff to the heist build, so I guess that's kind of cool, but maybe this enables some kind of like totem life shenanigans with those weird builds that do that. Maybe, but I don't know. Energy Blade. 2-handed Energy Blade now gets 20% more lightning damage. Cool, it was complete garbage before, and now it's like 20% better garbage. Firestorm, buffed every patch as usual and still trash. Haste is getting a buff. This is mainly a buff to Vol Haste, so that's actually okay. Like, it's getting a little bit of a buff. Maybe it'll be used more often. Reeve is getting like a 25% damage buff of effectiveness of added damage. I don't know if it's going to do anything. Melee is still really bad, and Reeve is not really in a great place, so not super happy about that. Rejuve Totem, of course. Scorching Ray, it's a channeling ability. Omega Lil channeling ability is bad. Scourge Arrow might be okay, but honestly, Scourge Arrow is in a kind of a rough spot, and a 5% damage bonus really isn't going to do enough, in my opinion. Shock Nova is probably the coolest change that they've done of everything here. They are making it so Shock Nova has some unique mechanics to it now, plus 10 to maximum effective shock, and the ring always shocks. So this is pretty cool. This might make Shock Nova worth playing. I could see some kind of like weird Shock Nova, effect of shock, blah, 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 blah kind of thing going on here. Could be pretty solid. We'll see. That is potentially good. It's about the only good change in this whole list, I'm gonna be real with you. Solrend, Spellslinger is getting added spell damage effectiveness up quite a bit, but I really just don't know this is going to do anything. Spellslinger reserves a lot of your mana, and we need mana to reserve auras to survive right now. Just don't know that this does anything. Sunder's getting a pretty massive buff, and Sunder's bad. Sunder's really bad right now. It's getting a huge effectiveness of damage buff. And yeah, its damaging wave still travels faster, but the new mechanics of Sunder are just really bad. There's a chance that this does something, but not excited. Fall Flame Blast. Normal Flame Blast is complete garbage, so I don't expect this to do anything. Arrow Nova support is being brought up to line. Maybe some more people use this now instead of GMP. That's pretty cool. Urgent Order support. Does any build use this? I'm not sure a single build uses it. I'm not sure that matters. Critical Strike Affliction support now has like 15% more damage. That's pretty good. The problem here for the most part is that damage over time multiplier is plenty. Like there's tons of it in the game. So this kind of like hits diminishing returns really quickly, but maybe this will actually be a support gem that can be used. So that's kind of cool. The one other good thing here is that Trickster is confirmed getting a rework. Trickster rework is very good. It's needed it for a very long time. Trickster has been the worst ascendancy in the game for a couple of patches now. So that's good. We'll see what happens. They are focusing tightly on thematically appropriate defenses and speed, so we'll see how that works. Juggernaut is getting its iconic ability split into 2 nodes now instead of 1. I don't know that this is going to fix the ascendancy, but it is a step in the right direction. Basically, it's being changed to where one of the nodes is making it so that 8% of armor applies to elemental damage of hits. This is very powerful because as far as I know, this should apply after resistances. So if you have some maximum resistances, this node's going to make you take essentially no elemental damage. It's going to be kind of insane. As for the other one, 40% increased life regeneration rate is a lot, honestly. It's a lot. And it still has the same 1.5% of physical damage prevented as hits, regenerated as life, plus the 40% increased. It could be pretty good now. Juggernaut could be pretty tanky, some good recovery, some pretty solid stuff. We'll see if it's enough, though. Juggernaut's in a pretty rough spot, so I don't know if this is enough to fix it. Chieftain, they're putting a bandage on a giant gaping wound, and it's not going to do anything. Pathfinder is getting a notable change. It's pretty cool. They're making it so that Master Alchemist now has 20% increased effect of magic utility flask, which is really powerful. And it's losing the 20% chance to free shock and ignite. That's fine. This was completely useless. I think in my video that I posted about what I would change about the ascendancies, I said that this was useless. This is a good change. I like this change. It's very solid. They're removing some reduced elemental damage taken, which is weird because I feel like they could have just left this in here and it would have been fine, but it doesn't really matter here. There's plenty of access to reduced elemental damage taken on the right side of the tree through resistances as well as like spell suppression. Should be okay. Unique item balance. They are nerfing crystallized omniscience. It's gonna be a little bit worse. I'm sure it will still work. I'm sure at very high end it'll still be very good, but I could see the price of it going down a little bit because of how much it's getting nerfed here. Notably, Ashes is not getting nerfed, but they think that omniscience is too powerful. I kind of agree. So I think that that's fine, but we'll see what happens here. Melding of the Flesh, I did feel that it was too powerful before. They're putting in a -4 to -6 all maximum elemental resistance penalty on it. This is overcomable. 4% negative maximum elemental resist is absolutely overcomable. I think that with enough investment, this will be essentially the same as it was before. I think it's more than fine. This is okay. Melding of the Flesh is way too powerful. This makes sense. They are basically turning Brittle from, hey, we can turn any build into a crit build, to if you are a crit build, this allows you to pretty easily get a 100% crit chance. I think this is fine. I don't think it's that big of a deal that it's being nerfed this much. It'll still be good. It just isn't like a, hey, you just crit all the time now. So should be fine. So the next thing here is mana reservation efficiency. This is pretty big. Every single build, essentially, because 90% of builds on Pee-wee Ninja are using this mastery, is losing 15% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. It's gonna be a little rough for defenses, honestly. This is gonna make it a little bit harder to get all those auras that you want. They're also nerfing the life reservation efficiency, which I think is weird. They should have just kept this in, to be honest. And they're nerfing the other mastery that gives you like increased effect. It's a pretty big nerf. We'll have to check the numbers. I'll have to jump into PvP and see how this feels on all the new builds, but it's not the end of the world, but unfortunately, gonna make things a little bit more rough. The Flagellant Flask line is being nerfed pretty heavily. It is going from 4, 6, and 7 to 1, 2, 3. Notably, in the early game, this is gonna make it significantly worse. 1 or 2 flash charges probably isn't so good. 3 flash charges is okay. So you're gonna need to get those very high eye level flasks now. Just do keep that in mind. That's basically the biggest change here. Really gonna need the high level flask, and you're gonna have to go for the good mod for these to be good now. They told us that they were doing this. They are removing the focus and skills cost no life or mana during that. This does brick a build or two as far as I am aware, so we knew that this was coming, no surprise. Chainbreaker is getting changed, kind of weird. They're making it so that it no longer has base rage regeneration, but it now grants you 1 rage regenerated for every 25 mana regeneration per second. But it's also making it so that you can't regen mana anymore, so this kind of feels like a nerf to Chainbreaker. But by the wording here, it makes me think that they're adding some stuff in this patch that revolves around rage, so we'll see. Notably, I do need to do a little bit of testing, but I do think the heist build is fine with Chainbreaker here. I have to see. I'll have to do a little bit of math, but I think it's okay. We're just going to need to get either less mana cost, put life tap on some stuff, but it seems like it should be okay. We'll see how this goes with what we see in patch note. They're putting damage taken, recouped his life on jewels, and that's about it. And that is going to be about it. Now, if I'm going to be honest with you, with the information that we have right now, I'm not super happy. I really am not, but as always, we do need to wait for patch notes to get full like confirmation on everything. Because really what this is making me feel is just that we're getting the same exact thing we had in 3.17, the same exact thing we had in 3.18, and they're just kind of nerfing it a little bit. So same situation, but less powerful. And I'm not really super excited about that. We'll see what happens with all the stuff in patch notes, so don't like freak out too much. But as of right now, not looking super hot. So remember, boys, if you enjoy this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in 3.19, Lake of Kalandra.